The topic I chose to write about is gun control. I believe that gun control is not the solution, it is the problem. What is gun control? Why is the topic of gun control such a big issue in the news? Why are some people so strongly against gun control while others are so for it? Gun control is the idea that banning all guns and adding more laws to guns will decrease the crime rates and deaths in gun-related instances. Many are proposing that gun control is the only way to protect citizens. In 2015, 33,000 people were killed due to gun-related crimes. It is all over the news that guns are the issue and guns are the reason for these people dying. The truth is that guns aren't the problem at all. It is the people behind the guns that pose the danger. This photo shows the statistics on guns from 1996 to 2011. Like I previously stated, every year there are over 30,000 people that are killed because of guns. Also, there are 70,000 gun-related injuries and 20 instances of mass murders using guns. But even with those statistics, you can see the amount of people that support the ban on guns have decreased by 34%. Even the amount of people that support the ban of semi-automatic weapons has fallen and decreased by 14%. Why have these numbers decreased? Because more people own guns now than ever before. In the United States, there are 90 guns for every 100 Americans. This means that 9 out of 10 people own a gun, or more people own more than one gun. My thesis is that gun control fails to protect citizens and decreases crime rates because guns aren't the problem. People are. The proposed laws are flawed, and criminals will find other ways to commit the crimes by obtaining the guns illegally. This will leave law-abiding citizens defenseless, and they will not be able to have anything to defend themselves. The laws created to ban guns and create gun-free zones have a negative effect on gun violence. The states that have the most gun control, like California, that already ban assault rifles, that's where San Bernardino happened, and we learned the same lesson over and over again. The recent shooting in San Bernardino was not only a shooting, but a terrorist attack. The perpetrators targeted a work training event with over 80 employees inside. It is now noted as one of the largest mass shootings in the United States history. Over 22 people were injured and 14 people were killed in the shooting that occurred in a gun-free zone. Gun-free zones don't magically stop people from having guns or shootings from happening. If only there was an armed officer, security guard, or even a citizen there with a gun that could have fought back, maybe they could have stopped the killers and saved some lives. It is obvious that gun-free zones don't work to protect people from shootings. Another problem with the proposing more laws on guns is that there are already so many flaws with the current laws. There are loopholes in the background check system that allow criminals to obtain guns. Right now, federally licensed firearm dealers are required to run background checks on those buying guns. But studies show that only nearly 40% of all gun sales are made by private sellers who are exempt from this requirement. A national survey of inmates found that only 12% of those who used a gun in a crime acquired it from a retail store or pawn shop, where background checks should have been run, but were not. These are from the White House. Why would people want more laws when the ones currently in place have so many flaws and loopholes? The people that are behind the gun, they're the ones that pull the trigger. They're the ones that kill people. Guns just don't shoot themselves and kill people. The thought that guns kill people is absurd. If a gun is loaded and left on a table, is it going to magically stand up by itself and shoot a person? No, there has to be a person behind the gun to pull the trigger. People are the problem. And that is the reason that gun control will never work. To control the guns, the people that use the guns to kill must be controlled first. There are many reasons that the people use guns to kill, but it all comes down to the thought in the shooter's mind that makes them pull the trigger. If the end goal is to create less crime by guns, the answer is to stop the criminals, not to ban the guns. Statistics show that the amount of times guns are used in homicides is low compared to other weapons used in crimes. Most violent offenders actually do not use firearms. In fact, over 90% of violent crimes occur without a firearm. Over the most recent decade, from 2001 to 2010, about 6% of all violent crimes were committed with firearms. Offenders that want to kill someone will not let gun laws stop them. These sick people will instead turn to other weapons to get the job done. This is just proof that banning guns will not reduce crimes. Adding more restrictions on guns isn't going to keep guns out of the hands of criminals. If a criminal wants to kill someone by using a gun, they aren't going to let gun laws stop them from finding a gun. One thing that these so-called gun control laws do not do is control guns. They disarm potential victims. People who do not care about the law can always get guns in a country with over 200 million guns and more coming in, both legally and illegally every day. Just by making something illegal doesn't keep people from doing it. For example, the government made marijuana illegal, but there are millions of people that still bought it, used it, and sold it. Recently, states are making marijuana legal, but people have been doing it illegally for decades. By taking the guns away from everyone, they aren't helping anyone. All it is doing is leaving law-abiding citizens on arms and selfless against convicts. Additionally, women need guns for self-defense because they aren't strong enough to fight off their offender. Gail Trotter gives a perfect example of a woman who needed a gun for self-defense. Sarah McKinley was home alone with her baby. She called 911 when two violent intruders began to break down the front door. Before the police could arrive, Miss McKinley was on the line with the 911 operator. These violent intruders broke down her door and entered. One of the men brought in a foot-long hunting knife. As the intruders forced their way into her home, Miss McKinley fired her weapon, fatally wounding one of her violent attackers and causing the other to flee the scene. Later, Miss McKinley reflected on the incident and said, "It was either going to be him or my son, and it wasn't going to be my son. If Miss McKinley didn't have a gun to protect her, they could have killed her and her 1-year-old son." Guns are needed for self-defense in many situations. On the other hand, people that are pro-gun control think that the Second Amendment is not an unlimited right to own guns. They believe that gun control is the answer and is accepted by the Second Amendment. But this is not the case. The Second Amendment protects the right to bear arms and the freedom of gun ownership. The Second Amendment states a well-regulated militia is necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Gun control is an enormous, controversial debate in politics right now. Most people believe blindly that banning guns will solve all the gun-related crime problems, but they are misinformed. Imposing more gun laws isn't going to keep guns out of the hands of felons. There are many, many guns already in circulation in the United States, and it would be incredibly difficult to impose background checks on criminal social networks. Our best hope is to stop guns from being diverted to the criminal market to begin with. Banning guns will only cause more crime. Instead of banning guns, the nation must come together and realize that it is the people behind the gun that is killing, not the gun itself. Protect the people by protecting the guns.